leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
Body.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. Thanks so much for being here. I've got a little bit of echo. I was trying to figure out where that's coming from. I think I knocked it out. Appreciate everyone helping me get the troubleshooting solved. Still not fully solved. I did hot swap the cords. Actually, can I get a quick, I think we're good, but can I get a quick, everyone in the chats? Actually, I need someone to come up on stage because that was the issue prior. If someone doesn't mind helping me out with a quick guest seat mic check, need to make sure all the spaces and video streams are communicating. We are live over on YouTube as well as Abstract and I believe the X video feed. I know you all can hear me. I know the music wasn't working at first, but then I swapped it back. I got the, thanks to Amazon. What a time to be alive. Yesterday, Amazon delivery this morning, placed it yesterday afternoon, got it before 8 o'clock today. So I got the new aux cable, the USB-C to aux. Oh no, I see Machiavelli, but I'm not getting the audio from him. Let me check. Fudge. I'm gonna troubleshoot, see if I can get it working. I really need to get it working today. I have to get it working today. Actually, tomorrow's guest, I guess, will be behind the, will be on StreamYard, so that shouldn't be an issue, but we want to have audience interaction. I do want to get it working tomorrow. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop the reminder up top for tomorrow's show while the guests are guest hosting today. You can go smash that reminder for tomorrow. That'll be pinned up top along with Abstract and YouTube, all those chats up top. I will go grab the X video feed momentarily once I get everything else figured out. But yeah, tomorrow's reminder's up top. I'm going to do some troubleshooting here live, and in the meantime, it's Jesus Smells show. I'm going to stop talking so you guys don't have to try to talk over me. Checked one other thing. Any luck now? Go give me another mic check on from Jesus or Mel.
We should do it in unison. Mic check.
Did you catch that mic check from Jesus over on YouTube?
I didn't know if me and Mel were about to harmonize.
No, man.
30 minutes of tech talk is always a
Wait, good? You can hear Jesus now?
Hey, now.
I love the enthusiasm.
Oh, my goodness. We're live.
You'd have thought he won the fucking lottery.
Yeah, we're good. I don't know how we did it. I don't know what we did. Some combination of...
Let's go.
It still looks like something's off, but I'm not going to jinx it. It doesn't, like, there's one of the bars that usually goes up when you all talk is not going up. But
I see some guys that have guests on their stage and all of the audio runs through the host. I don't know how they're doing that. You know,
honestly, that's what it was like the past couple of weeks with Cap. The audio
it
was running through his thing only, besides when we spoke.
I mean, that's how it works when I have someone on StreamYard. If I have someone on video, all audio runs through my host account. Be epic with the 200 Pingu tip for new equipment. Might buy me another dongle. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. So BT Dwayne, thank you. We're gonna crowdsource. I wish it was as simple as new equipment. Because I'm running about as new as possible on the equipment. Brand new USB-C cable out of the box. The Duo 2 is like weeks, maybe a month old. And I guess the MacBook isn't new, but it works. So we're live. 31 minutes of troubleshooting here on Coffee with Captain. I would love to say, if you have issues simulcasting X Spaces and video, hit me up, but unfortunately, I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did to fix it. Just click enough buttons, restart the computer, and pray to the streaming gods. They came through this morning. Wow, Teacher Katie with 1,108 Pingu for show 1,108. Thank you all very much. You're too generous. Be epic. Also followed up with another Pingu tip. We're loading the Pingu bags. Payne, maybe this is the trick. Maybe this is the trick for additional streams of revenue. Is we fake some audio issues every morning and people feel bad for us and give us some sympathy tips.
Bro, just give me 10%. I'll come in hot with some bad tech. Like, we'll run this bitch for 45 minutes to an hour of bad tech.
Now that we owe them the Pingu for all hanging out for 32 minutes while I'm.
Were we that bad?
No.
No.
Really good, Mel. He couldn't even hear us. Yeah, he couldn't even hear what we were saying.
You're all great. This was a real-time test of myself as an aspiring stoic, not losing my cool when I'm half on video, half not, when things are in my control, but outside of my control at the same time. Is maybe the most maybe the most frustrating I can get when I have the ability to fix something, but don't know what's broken. And I don't know. Anyways, I digress. We're live. We're fully functional. Welcome to Coffee with Captain. Thanks so much for being here. We're also live, believe it or not. We are also live on Abstract as well as YouTube. All those are pinned up top, as well as a reminder for tomorrow's show. We do have a special guest. It's a new partner we're kicking off. So it will be a sponsored interview. I'll add the paid promotional post or paid whatever the disclaimer is. I'll add that to that link so there is no confusion there. I think I can even do that on mobile. I'm a fan of the feature. I'm a fan of adding disclosed paid promotion. There we go. Paid partnership on tomorrow's show. I love it. Did X Spaces change aesthetics? I can't put my finger on it, but it looks different. I don't know if it's better, but it's different. You got me. Maybe if you just added, I don't know, the mic that does look new. There's like a little mic figure now in that screenshot that Risk Brian shared. I'm also stalling a little bit as I try to pull back up my Notion for show notes and the docket today. A little bit of multitasking here. I think we're about live. I'm going to jump right back into cold open. It's going to be brief. It's a cold open topic that's going to set up a topic to close the show, in particularly AI agents and new things. I mentioned I got a new phone. Also got my daughter a new phone, and she was fine with like the iPhone 17. The only request she had is she didn't want the Air because she wanted to be able to do the 0.5 zoom. I'm guessing that's a selfie thing. I really don't know, but she wanted the 0.5 zoom was the most important feature to her. That one of them didn't have it. It's the iPhone Air doesn't have 0.5 zoom, so she was fine with the iPhone 17. I was ready to order. I was talking with the rep, was going to order it remotely, have it shipped to her, and then I kid you not, I see this post that I'm about to share with you, and I text the guy back. I was like, nope, let's go ahead and do the iPhone 17 Pro, solely because it's got like some better zoom, like 4.8 and X8 zoom on the Pro. She didn't even care about that. It's got the extra camera. Again, she didn't care about that. They both have the 0.5 zoom out. But she's going to college next year, and I made a decision to go ahead and get her the Pro when I saw this tweet that I have shared here on the screen from Adrian Groden. The new Quinn 3.5 by Alibaba Quinn running on device on an iPhone 17 Pro. Quinn 3.5 beats models 4 times its size, has a strong visual understanding, and can toggle reasoning on or off. The 2B 6-bit model here is running with MLX optimized for Apple Silicon. So I kid you not, I texted the guy, I said, you know what, forget it. Let's actually go to the Pro. And she also wanted the white version of the iPhone. The 17 is in pure white. The 17 Pro is only a silver white. But I said, let's go with the 17 Pro. Mainly, my sole reason being was so that it's got the better processor in it, and I feel it might future-proof her phone. Now, is she going to run Quinn 3.5 on her new iPhone 17 Pro when she gets it? Probably not. But I don't know what she's going to get into with college. And as opposed to having to get her another new phone a year from now, I decided let's go ahead and get the best processor that might future-proof her, because I think this stuff's really important. Like, is she most likely just going to run Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT? Probably. But who knows? Maybe she gets really deep into AI and she wants to run a local model, and she could do it on the 17 Pro, but couldn't do it on the 17. So that's my cold open. Yet we're also going to talk a little more towards the end of the show about these AI models and AI agents in particular. I haven't changed the title yet on Spaces, but if you saw it over on YouTube or Abstract, I was not wrong, just early. Hans, thank you very much for the Pingu tip. This might be a record-breaking day in Pingu. I know they're making XP changes down Abstract. I hope eventually someday they turn on reverse tipping, because I owe you all quite a bit of Pingu in return for the generosity. I said beginning of last year, actually probably started saying this in December 24, that AI agents would be to 2025 as NFTs were to 2021. I was wrongish early. I think it's happening now. I think the agentic world is going to be what onboards not just all these robots on chain. I think it's what it's going to lead to the next, it's for me, I'm trying to think, what is the next big catalyst? What's the next fun, exciting thing? No offense to Nibbles and Moody Mites that we were talking about yesterday. Nibbles, by the way, minced today. No offense to any of the stuff happened. Dezit, the creator cards, I'm really excited about. Congratulations. I saw some of those legendary sales yesterday. Starting to pick up some momentum there. I'm excited about all this stuff, but I don't think any of this stuff is going to onboard someone that's not here. What is the next catalyst? Is there even another chain launching? Like Mega ETH was kind of like the last hurrah as far as I'm concerned. Maybe at some point we decide we need more infra, but funding is dried up. They're not launching new chains anytime soon that I know. Let me ask everyone on stage. Does anyone know of another chain that's anticipated? Is there another outside of this specific use case, like Robinhood's chain and Temple and like the stablecoin chains and the ones that might like maybe Texas Block Exchange, like maybe the ones that are very specific use case chains, or for one of these big Web2 companies that launches their own chain. Are there any other like crypto native chains that are launching anytime soon, or let's say in 2026? Is anyone aware of any?
Didn't Kraken, are they working on Ink?
Not familiar. I think I did see something, but I'm guessing that also is going to be a very specific use case to Kraken. No or yes?
I'm assuming, I don't know much about it. The most I know about it is they had the open edition on OpenSea for it a while back. It couldn't tell you. I haven't seen any hype besides that. But I mean, if it's Kraken, I know they have a large user base, so I'd be curious to see. But isn't the whole thing right now consolidation?
I think
Isn't that
so.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do think it's likely that we see more chains sunset than we see new chains launch. There will be new chain. Thank you, Be Epic. Be Epic with like tip number 3 already. He's feeling really bad for me today. I kid, but no, seriously, thank you. So back to the point of like no new chains are launching. Not that would necessarily bring on new people anyways. I do think what would bring more likely to bring on new non-crypto native users would be fun consumer dApps, things that they just are better on chain than off chain. Things like Beezy, things like I don't know, maybe things like Euphoria on Mega ETH and like fun mobile apps that go on chain. I don't think I'm here for new NFT mints in 2026. If you've been paying attention, there's been several that have been, they've not been 100xing, but there's been a lot of new mints in 2026 that you had a chance to flip for a significant multiplier. And a lot of them still trading above mint price. I just don't think that's bringing anyone new to the space. I do think that AI agents and what they do on chain is likely the next big onboarder. I think it's likely that maybe not most, I think a lot of people will start trading, will start managing, will start doing things with these AI agents. And not all that needs to be on chain. You can do a lot of this from your browser. Shout out Perplexity Computer. If you've not played around with that yet, it's worth exploring. But yeah, I really do think it's likely that AI agents bring, and them in these agents transacting on chain is what ultimately becomes like what NBA Top Shot was for myself and many others, where I held a little bit of coin, held a little Ethereum, didn't really care about crypto. Honestly, I was one of those people that crypto was kind of scammy. I saw some people that I grew up in the repair industry and they pivoted out into some scam altcoins and like, that's just not for me. And then coming out of COVID, I had been collecting some cardboard, some football cards, baseball cards, basketball cards. Got out my old cards from childhood, and some people I had been followed for years in the DFS circles. They spent like $35,000 on a Ja Morant moment on Top Shot. I was like, whoa, these guys have been early to DFS. They knew their stuff there, and it was a big swing. So it got me checking out Top Shot, ripping some packs, ended up being plus EV. And that got me exploring blockchain a little more because it made so much logical sense to me. It's just better. Collecting was just better on chain than off chain. I'd bought these cards in the pandemic, and then I was like, okay, I need to sell some of these. And then the thought of like, oh man, I got to create a new eBay account. I got to become a power seller to gain any sort of traction. And then if I sell one, I got to go pick, pack, and ship this thing to make what, $17? It was a lot of work, a ton of friction. And with Top Shot, I could rip a pack and sell the car within seconds. Like, it was so much better. It was so clear to me, like, okay, this is going to be the future of collecting assets. It's going to be on chain. Joey, I see, flew up on stage as his hand. We'll get you in a second. Beezy, I think, has leveled that up even further because they're combining the two worlds. And I do think that more RWAs coming on chain, being able to tap into liquidity or tap into the equity of real world assets you hold, doing that on chain. It can seem like there's a lot of friction because of the tech, but the tech has evolved so much to where it's really not a hurdle anymore, especially if the teams build it right. And there's so many things that can be enhanced, that can be evolved when they're brought on chain. And I think that continues to play out. So maybe it is RWAs, but I think it's a combination of bringing real world assets on chain in combination with these AI agents. And right now, there's a lot of buzz on Base. We'll talk a little bit about Tron, which I don't think we've ever talked about on the show, but them leaning hard into AI agents. Similar thesis that they're going to be what NFTs were during the last bull run. And it's wild to me that CT is become like bearish during a time where all this stuff is happening. Like this agentic world is really popping off now, arguably more so than it's ever before, or at least as much as it did when it first hit, and people thought it was like, oh, AGI has gone live on Solana, and you had a lot of the AI, AI XPTs of the world, and really like chatbots. It was really, really, really early, and two things have happened. A, the tech is just much better. We now have agentic protocols on chain that allows them to create directories and transact easier. In addition to, it's much easier for consumers just to get on and do things on chain without even realizing they're on chain. Long way of saying, we're reiterating that I do believe AI agents will be to 2026 as NFTs were to 2021. And coincidentally, ironically, I don't know, the timeline is matching up as far as like in March of 2021, Top Shot was popping off, might have even topped. If not, I think it tops in March, late March maybe. And Apes hadn't even minted yet. The NFT mania had not kicked off yet. I think maybe March of 2021 is when I started exploring Zed Run on Polygon and going deep in the blockchain rabbit hole, in particular ETH, and became an ETH maxi because those bankless boys, may never forgive them. A kid. Joey, GM, welcome to the stage. What brought you up this morning?
You had mentioned, GM guys, you had mentioned, I guess blockchains earlier. And I maybe I didn't hear it because it was kind of going in and out for me because I was multitasking. But is Robinhood still launching their own blockchain? Because if so, I feel like that could be a major onboarding event for non-crypto natives with Robinhood launching their blockchain.
Yes, they are. I will confirm that, get some details here in a sec. I think the other thing, like Discord must have had like 7 updates because it's just not, it did updates and still not opening for me. It's downloading another update. I believe the Robinhood L2 is still happening. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but
I mean, the reason why I say that is my dad's 70. No, he's not 70. He's 60. How old's my dad? He's 70. Oh yeah, he's 70. That's right. He's like 71 or 72 now. And he only trades crypto on Robinhood. Because it's just so simple. It's not the best, user interface, right? Like sometimes I have to walk him through like how to swap or send to a different, like if he's sending it to me to use for like a pre-sale or something like that. Cause we've tried doing, like I tried to get him into the Mega ETH pre-sale, and it was the mission, like with all the KYCing and the different websites and whatever. So not the best on Robinhood, but it's still simpler than everything outside of maybe going on Coinbase. But for him, he already has stocks and things like that in Robinhood. Like when Trump launched, he like just opened up his Robinhood app and bought some Trump, like easy peasy. So I feel like that the Robinhood launch, the blockchain launch could be another major onboarding event for non-crypto natives, depending on, I guess, what the plan is with their blockchain. I don't know, why they need it and like what they're gonna do outside of what they're already doing in the app. Well, but it made me think of that.
Yeah, great call. I agree. I think so. If I were to expand on AI agents to 2026 as NFTs were to 2021, that combined with some of these large Web 2 giants that are launching L2s that are coming on chain, I do think that will be I do think that could be a big onboarder, especially if it's done well. They're in testnet currently. Robinhood Chain is permissionless layer 2 blockchain built for financial services and tokenized real world assets. To me, I read that and I think, oh, it's hyper liquid. It'll be stock trading 24/7. It'll be, and while I love hyper liquid and I remain a hyper liquid bull, Robinhood, Coinbase, they have a big edge when it comes to top of funnel. They have a massive user base. Go ahead, Joey.
My 72-year-old dad's not going to learn how to use Hyperliquid.
Yep. Permissionless by design, made for developers, speed you can rely on. It's an Arbitrum layer 2. Speaking of Arbitrum layer 2s, I see Simple Farmer jumped up. We're going to get, I think, Simple Farmer twice this week. Simple Farmer GM, I know you're deep in that Arbitrum ecosystem. Thoughts on Robinhood's layer 2 or whatever else brought you up this morning? GM.
Yeah, GM. I'm right with you, Cap, on all of the agentic discussions. I think it's the future. I think it's positive. I think it'll net lead to more fees and more revenue, and that's going to flow through DeFi because all of these agents, when they trade, that is still going to flow through liquidity pools, and so it should be good, especially for people who know how to access those strong DeFi protocols. But yeah, Robinhood Chain testnet is live already. They're investing heavily in this. They want to see people building products, especially based on the stock tokens that they have on there that are, represented by real world assets, which are those actual tokens. And they're one of the reasons that Arbitrum 1 is rapidly gaining the most real world assets from any chain in crypto right now. So yeah, super bullish. They're investing a ton of money in it. We did a mini deployment, just like an on-chain fun NFT collection on Robinhood Chain testnet through Clutch Markets, and built like some DeFi primitives as well, deployed like Uniswap V3 pools just so people can have tokens to trade on testnet, even though, those tokens don't have any actual value. But that later with Clutch, that whole product line, that DeFi suite is going to translate to a product on Robinhood Chain mainnet. And they are, excited about this kind of stuff. They're looking for DeFi on their chain. And we're glad to bring some of it. And I've had already really positive experiences with them. I've noticed that they're really open to helping builders building DeFi there, especially financially.
Do we know when mainnet is supposed to go live? I assume it's a 2026 timeframe. Do we have any closer estimated launch date than sometime this year?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a precise estimated date, but if I had to guess, I would guess summer, before Q3.
Awesome. Let's go back to Joey, and I see Poppy joined us. Poppy, you've missed it, but we created our own war on the floor in the race to 1 ETH for Quirkys versus Mutants versus Good Vibes Club. I was trying to get some PvP going. I don't know if anyone else caught wind of that, but congratulations on the recent run up, and looking forward to getting you into the conversation. Joey, go ahead though. Back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's not the most popular guy sometimes, but Grant Cardone also announced his intent to launch the biggest Bitcoin funded real estate. What was the word he used? Hold on. He wants to launch the. I can't find it, but anyway, it's like essentially real estate investment fund with purely Bitcoin, which is just another example of how people are with art. To your point about RWAs, bringing them on chain and using crypto is just better. And somebody with his type of influence in the real estate space, and his type of money could be a catalyst to do that.
Yeah, very well could be. He also, I know, has been pounding the drum that mortgage rates are going to be back below 3% in later 2026. I don't know. Maybe I am. I'm back in the market. Partner and I are going to pull a little bit of. We have owned a property together for I think over a decade now. We've never tapped into liquidity. There's quite a bit of equity built up into it. And I think we're in the process of doing a refi solely for the purpose of having some cash on hand to jump at some deals. I think, I don't know if it's bottom. I think it's maybe like the catch a falling knife scenario right now as it relates to real estate. But to your point on, I just did a quick search. I see this post. He had looking for a Bitcoin OG who wants to trade 750 Bitcoin for 100 foot of private beach, 10,000 square foot, fully furnished oceanfront mansion in Miami. If your cost basis is 100, you're paying 71 grand. If it's 500, you're paying 350. If it's 1,000, you're paying 710,000. Neighbors selling for up to 100 million. One of only 60 homes in all of Miami Beach with a private beach will deliver with fully permitted plans to rebuild the 22,000 square foot mega mansion. He posted this on February 21st. I also saw Zuck just bought a mega mansion on I wonder if Zuck bought this property he was talking about, because Zuckerberg just bought a mega mansion with a ton of land. I think it was maybe the largest sale in Miami Beach for a while.
Yeah, I just found a post from where he says Cardone Capital is preparing to tokenize its real estate holdings, providing investors with collateral and liquidity in the secondary markets. Cardone Capital will be the market leader tokenizing our assets at scale. I've proven myself with a loyal retail audience of investors for 10 years, distributing over 500 million in cash flow, best in class. What layer 2 would make the best partner? And then he tags Solana, AVAX, Bitcoin Magazine, Aptos, Polygon, T0, etc. So I think he's, there's I'm trying to find the other post about the Bitcoin one, but he's going hard on tokenizing real estate and making crypto the currency of real estate.
Seems inevitable to me that it's just soon, like within maybe this year, if not within the upcoming years. There's already bills in Congress now, like the ability to use your crypto holdings, not have to go and get a loan against it and pay 20% interest for a short-term loan, but actually a real use case for not having to sell your Bitcoin, but rather, I want to take a couple Bitcoin and use it as collateral as a down payment in this home. Like that seems inevitable to me. And then further, actually tokenizing the real estate, bringing it on chain, reducing the friction, like we talked about. Like it's like Top Shot at scale. I know there's a lot of regulations, both at a federal, state, and a local level. It's much easier said than done, but I think we'll get there. And it's going to take some people experimenting, effing around, so to speak, and pushing that forward. But I remain optimistic that we will get there. Real quick today, more you know, and then we're going to get Poppy into the conversation. David Solomon of Goldman Sachs, the president and CEO of Goldman Sachs, unrelated to this, but he says, at recent World Liberty Financial Forum, I'm still trying to figure out how Bitcoin behaves. I own a little Bitcoin, very little. David Solomon, also a DJ. Go check that out today if you're in the electronic music streets. David Solomon, yes, the David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs, is an EDM DJ. The more you know, brought to you by Coffee with Cap. That's just purely sponsored by me this morning. That's not a sponsor bit. I am a fan of EDM music, and David Solomon in the booth is. I've not seen that live, but
this old bald guy,
yes,
64 years old, is an EDM DJ.
Correct.
What's his?
They got some wild ass parties in that office.
Oh, I believe it. Do we know what his DJ moniker is?
David Solomon. He's not even like his Instagram handle is David Solomon Music. Like, again, I'm not making this up.
This might be crazier than the priest, the Brazilian priest. That's
also
a DJ.
Also a cool story. But yes, his Instagram, David Solomon Music. His thing, CEO, dad, music fan, DJ since 2015. All proceeds benefit charitable institutions in the fight against addiction. Payback Records, and you can hit his link tree on there. My friend, actually, I'm not going to dox him, but my friend used to be the talent manager at for Grutman, David Grutman, who owns not just Story and Live in Miami, but now several places in Miami and Vegas. And anyways, my friend that from our college circle was his talent manager for years. And that's where I became aware of David Solomon, because he's been in the booth with him. And first time I had became aware of that. But yeah, he's been doing it for over a decade, and is like decent. Like he will surprise you as a DJ. And it's also, you see some guy he's clearly doing it for the love of the game. He doesn't need to be doing it for any gigs, but loves the game. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I think actually well respected by some of the the big artists in the space. Go ahead.
If you haven't, for those of you out there that are music fans, if you haven't listened or seen live performances from the Brazilian priest, I highly recommend you do. Like, he did a live performance in front of the, what's the big statue in Brazil called? The Welcoming Jesus or something? What's it
Cristo
called?
Redentor, Christ the Redeemer.
Christ the Redeemer. Yep.
Yeah, Christ the Redeemer. There you go. He did like a huge show in front of that. I mean, it was absolutely sick. And I think he did another one at like another famous venue, like the Colosseum or something, somewhere in Italy. Like, look him up. I can't remember his name, but if you just Google like Brazilian priest EDM DJ, it's crazy to see him on stage in full priest garb, like white collar and everything. Like, he's a practicing priest, just absolutely tearing up the ones and twos.
Yep. That'll get me. That's kind of stuff that'll get me going back to church. Yeah, Solomon's a good guy. B Epic says used to wait on him and Lloyd. Yep, that's your rabbit hole you can go down today. Is play a David Solomon set or two as your if you're a multitasker and like music in the background. Let's do this. Let's do a quick market update, and that'll be a great segue into Poppy. I'll set him up. He can comment on what the heck's driving this. People have been asking what's going on with Quirkys. Why are they mooning? What is happening over there? And I've got some ideas, but I'm not gonna guess. We've got the man, the myth, the legend himself. Can give us a quick update. But here, looking at the NFT market, we'll start there, and then let's start with coins, and then we'll come back to NFTs, and then segue from there. I will say, fear and greed. We're out of extreme fear. We are out of extreme fear. Hope you bought the extreme fear dip. We're now up to 20 on the fear and greed index. Bitcoin up 2% on the day to 66,942. I think it touched, maybe went over 70K yesterday. Hit resistance at 69,420. This isn't a joke. There is real sell pressure at the 69,420. If you think memes are just jokes, go look at the resistance at 69,420 and every sell up that's hit since we've hit that number here as of late. ETH up 1% on the day to 1952. BNB flat. I mean, pretty much. I mean, ETH and Bitcoin leading the way. Solana up 0.76%. But all things considered, with the I don't know, geopolitical stuff, the war in Iran, everything, all things considered, I think pretty strong to see majors up, even flat on the day, and seemingly a little bit of confidence back in the crypto streets. Looking at NFTs, Pudgy's down 0.9% on the day to 4.48. There was Cyrus, let's see if I can find the post, shared that the largest Pudgy Penguin holder has sold off over $1 million of Pudgy Penguins since the beginning of last month. Maybe, he says, top holder of Pudgy Penguins has been relentlessly dumping them since the start of last month. They've sold 93 penguins for around $1 million and have 38 left. Probably explains most of why basically all other top NFTs have outperformed them in 2026. You know, whales can be great for a collection. They also can be bad for a collection. When the whales decide they want out, it's hard to offset that sell pressure, especially in a depressed market or when there's not many net new buyers. Yeah, some rotators, maybe a few new buyers, but when you have someone that's selling hundreds of an asset, it can be tough to offset that with any new buyers. Hypers down 1% on the day to 455. Moonbirds continues dipping slightly to down to 0.98. Little Pudgy's 0.51. Death and taxes down to 0.34. They had an update. I think it was tax day or something yesterday, I believe. I still have an open tab. Maybe that's why my audio issues were this morning, because I've had an open tab for death and taxes now for like a week and haven't done anything with it. Good Vibes Club down 1% to 0.78. Their open edition this month, I think, ends today. Joey, do you know? Is it over or is it still open today? For the Good Vibes Club February mint. They're doing the 12 open editions, one a month. Do we know, is that still open? Joey, maybe lost Joey. We're going to come back to Quirkys. Mutants down 0.2% to 0.89. Apes down 2% to 5.87. Normies down 13% to 0.03. VPRNs down 1% to 1.26. Doodles down 2% to 0.47. Big new hire there. Shout out to our guy, one of the good-hearted people in the space. Dude Lifts announced a while ago that he was leaving Flow, and and was going to be sharing where he landed soon. He just shared that he's joined Doodles as head of head of ecosystem and growth, maybe. I thought I saw. Yeah, sorry, director of ecosystem and growth. More to be announced. Congrats to Dude Lifts, and I think even more so, congrats to Doodles for adding just a good person, a good active participant in the space, has been here, not going anywhere, and despite Doodles' ups and downs, has continued to be a fan and promoter and ambassador of Doodles throughout everything, and even alludes. I have in the video here. I'll pin this up top in a second, but it says, has anyone ever had a 4-year long job interview? Just love to see good people getting good opportunities, and I'm here for it. Makes me bullish, Doodles, when they add good people to the team. Not going to rush out and buy Doodle yet, but I will keep more eyes on it with Dude Lifts now on board over there. Mythic's down 1% on the day. This is my personal reminder. I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing with Bird Game and if I'm going to continue to play that or not. I think I missed last round. I'm just sitting on Bird. I haven't checked that. I don't even want to see it. Del Mundo's down 11% on the day to 0.07. One of those new mints. It's still up big from Mint, but down about half from where it was. I think all-time high was around 0.15, if I'm not mistaken. And Sandbox land pumping. No idea what's driving that. All that being said, up to the one who just seems to be up like 1% every single day. Not any major whale sweeps. It just went from like 0.5, and then we were talking 0.6, and then 0.7, and then we started talking, oh, well, look at this. Good Vibes Club, Mutant Apes, and Quirkys are all in that 0.7, 0.75 range, and they seem to have positive momentum. Who breaks 1 ETH first? And Poppy, I don't know if you knew we created the war on the floor and the race to 1 ETH, but we've been tracking it here on the show, and congrats the recent success. I know success is much more than floor price. That said, with a collection that is on a royalty protected contract, it's a big deal. And I think I am been beating the royalty drum for a while. I know that there's more than just royalties, but I do believe that royalty protected contracts are beneficial for collectors. I think it's beneficial for the collection beyond just the royalties you're collecting. I think it mitigates farmers and short-term flippers and helps cultivate a good community that's collecting things they want to collect. GM Poppy, am I on the right path with what is driving by the way, royalties over the past week, $19,060 in royalties just in the past week for Quirkys. Trails only, Death and Taxes at 21K, Death and Taxes, a brand new collection that's getting that momentum out of the gate. Del Mundo's is third at 14K, Normies fourth at almost 14K. Then comes in Pudgies, then Good Vibes Club still there. If we look at the last 30 days, Del Mundo's leading the way at 85K, Good Vibes Club second at 65K, Normies 57, and Quirkys 53. Quirkys in the last month, the only collection that's over a year old. I say that, Good Vibes Club approaching their 1-year anniversary. But again, congrats on the success. I will give you guys credit for being one of the early ones to move to a royalty protected contract, even predated your time as the the owner, the president, whatever your current role or title is at Quirkys. I know you were an active advisor and deep involved in that not just the community, but also working with the team. Yeah, congrats, man. I love to see it. And fill in any gaps. What did I miss there? What's driving this recent momentum with Quirkys?
Yeah, thank you, Cap. Yeah, I jumped up to just be here this morning. It's been a busy couple months. When I purchased Quirkys, I told my wife, "No, don't worry, it's gonna be great." She's like, "You're already busy." I'm like, "No, don't worry, I already do this. It's all good." And I have been very occupied, and things are going really well. Honestly, it's been more than I expected, and I came in with, I think you always have to come in to anything you're doing with really tempered expectations. So, you find a floor for yourself mentally that you could just build on and not have any pressure. When I was just getting ready to take over, one of the guys that I'm friends with from Punks was like, "Look, you really need to raise money. You should get on the phone with some of these guys." There was like 6 or 7 people he connected me to. And I kept telling him, like, "Bro, I really don't I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to bring in, VCs. I really don't want to do that at this stage in the game. And he's like, bro, so and so got $1 million when they like brought in $1 million when they took over, and this guy brought in 10 million. I'm like, not really my thing. I think I can do it. I think we can do it. We have royalties on. I've got some cash if we need to fall back, but I think we can do it. At least get off the rails. And so we didn't take any investors. I took down the acquisition with personal finances, and we got to work. I think we layered it in a way where I had been a collector. And Cap, you know this. 3.5 years of deploying hundreds and hundreds of ETH into all these different ecosystems, because my intention was always just to be a collector. I remember people used to tell me, come on, take over to this project, Alien Friends, take over this project, whatever, take over Gutter, take over this one, that one. And I'm like, it's not my thing. I love collecting. I like being free and being able to change PFPs and do whatever the heck I want. And I think part of that ended up being this like unintentional data collection and experience collection. So as we were building Quirkys from, I call it, chapter 2, day 1, September 1st, 2025, when the acquisition went public, I tried to build everything, including the advisory board, including the mindset about how I wanted them to act as advisors, how we approach holders, how we approach growth in spaces, trying to do that from a place of genuinity, transparency, vulnerability, and over communicating, but doing it accurately as well, right? Not gassing things up, hyping things up. And that's never been our strategy. A big part of our strategy is stealth launching. So I think, first off, I'm super grateful because we've never been one to get very much outside love, but you've been authentically you and supporting and a good friend and someone that has definitely brought value to Quirkys. So I did not know about the race. A lot of people counted us out for sure, and that's okay. I like the underdog story. It fires me up every morning when I wake up. I'm like, cool. I like being doubted and slept on. But I think, a couple things. Number one, are royalties playing a difference? Sure, because we are fueling that capital. We are fueling the ecosystem with that capital. And, even when ETH dropped a third, we still are sitting on a nice. I mean, I tell our community this all the time. I'm like, we have now the capital, if we never made another dollar, to operate through 2026. And we're bringing in our first investor, who's a big holder. I didn't do anything public, but he approached, and I said, "You're on my 1 of 10 people list." So he's coming in, and that'll give us capital to run through pretty much the next 2 years if we never make another dollar. So we've kept things very lean. So that's number one. Obviously stability there has been big. We've also done very well on our apparel and streetwear. Those numbers are not on Dune Analytics, but we've done significantly well there, and given most of that profit back. We did a big charity run straight out the gate. We did Quirks Fighting Cancer, and we ended up donating a lot of money to the Susan Komen Foundation for breast cancer,
That's
which is
awesome.
something, yeah, very cool. That was actually the first thing we did. The first activation was the charity activation. And we're gonna do probably 2 a year, like that. Susan Komen Foundation has reached out actually a few times and want to do something bigger with us. So we'll probably do that again. Having some family member. I mean, everybody's been touched by someone close to them that has some kind of cancer, if not breast cancer. So I feel like that's a good one to rally around.
My best friend from college, his sister just, kid you not, just beat breast cancer. Just got her test back yesterday that everything was cleared after her not mastectomy, lip. What's the next? She went through chemo and that stuff, and then had a surgery. But
you're talking about for her breasts or for her hysterectomy?
No, for her breast, but it wasn't a mastectomy. It was one step down from that. It was just not as invasive, just removing lymph nodes, I guess, to ensure that they weren't no cancer remaining, and then those tests came back all positive. So
Dude, that's amazing. I love stories like that. Made the activation even better because we have one of the women that runs spaces for us, and it's just very quirky, very very much a part of the family. She just had her last cancer treatment, and Flex, who's become a great friend and big holder, his wife is currently in the middle of a pretty serious battle of cancer, and it's been really just a part of our culture to fight back and stuff. So that was a big thing that we did that I think showed people, hey, these guys are here building a community, and we've just done a lot of that stuff to build the trust. I think a factor that most people don't see is the relationships and the time that I spend building them. And the same with a lot of guys in our community and men and women in our community, I should say. I spend countless hours every week on the phone with various holders, people that have huge bags and people that have one asset. And that's something I did as a collector that as an owner I feel like is missing in a lot of these spaces. Not that every founder or owner needs to be on the phone all day. We need to build, and I do balance that time. But I learned a long time ago, Cap, through entrepreneurship, that you can't spend 100% of your time doing the one thing because then the other things lack. And so I've kind of spread my time out really well. Spend a lot of time with vendors, a lot of time with the creative team, and a lot of time in the chats with the holders and on spaces. So I mean, there's several factors. Our creative team is ridiculous, and just to shadow last couple things, I'll throw it back to you. Most of our budget allocation at this moment in time is gunning for virality through content, storytelling. I think there's a huge gap in a lot of people question the purpose of NFTs, and I always try to look at it from a not maxi standpoint. Like if Cap, you and I are having a conversation about NFTs, we're both convinced you could sell us a good idea. But there's people on the outside, you sit down at a bar and they go, what do you do? And you go, I own an NFT project. And they go, either what is that? NFT, no fucking thanks. Or they're going to say, actually, my 69-year-old neighbor said NFT, no effing thanks. And I pretty much fell off my stool. I couldn't believe he even knew to say that, but it was even funnier that he was like so negative on NFTs, which was pretty funny. But or they're going to say, oh, didn't all the celebrities buy them back in 2021? They're scams or they're dead. So I try to look at that perspective. Like, how do I convey a real business to somebody who doesn't understand the technology, doesn't understand what we've spent the last 4 years building and defending? And, we're really deploying a very skilled team that I'm really excited about. That we hired really from within Web3. We do have one agency that's brilliant, and they've worked on some Klano stuff and some Fugs stuff as well. They've done a great job out of France, but the rest of it is internal. And we're going for, like, this month we launch one of my biggest, I'd say my biggest, goals for 2026 was to launch a safe, positive, and effective kids learning YouTube channel.
Very cool.
So yeah, we were working on the ABCs yesterday, and it sounds corny till you have a kid and you see some of the stuff they come across on YouTube. So
can I interject and add something? Because my youngest is 18. Big lacrosse game tonight, by the way. They're playing an undefeated squad. So her team is playing really good. They're a good team, but they're also young. Like, she's one of just a few seniors, and their like top 2 goal scorers are a junior, and a junior's committed to Oregon, and a sophomore. So they're a young team. I think they're going to be really good next year. Leaning on, I haven't shared, you probably heard my daughter got named captain of the team this year. And so proud dad moment there. Excited to go support them and see them knock off an undefeated team tonight. That said, one of the things I've said here recently on this show is if I have a regret, as I don't really have regrets in my life. Like all my L's are just learning experiences, and I'm grateful for the journey. I'm very fortunate to be where I am, and I love what I do. I'm grateful for my friends, my family, my health. If I have a regret as a parent, it's that not to give myself an excuse, but keep in mind, like I owned a bunch of Verizon stores. I grew up in the wireless industry. I spent most of my professional career selling phones or leading a franchise that fixed phones. And my kids got phones at young ages, too early, not knowing what we know now about social media. And like my daughter, who's 18, like she's been on TikTok since before it was TikTok. She was on TikTok when it was called Musical.ly. And I regret that. I wish I hadn't, because she does well in school. She's a great kid. She's smart, but she does struggle with focus and attention. And she's not been medicated. I've not went that route. No offense to anyone if you choose to medicate your kids with Adderall or whatever is out there. We've not went that route, but she's struggled with focus and attention at times. And I take the blame for that. I blame myself for putting an electronic device in her hands at too young of an age. And I can't go back and change that now. But as someone who's got, a small platform and people, tune in and a lot of people do have younger kids. Like while I don't think I'm too much older than everyone, I started a family a lot younger than most of my peers did. Like I have close friends I went to college with that are my age and they've got like 3, 4, 5-year-olds where like I said, my youngest is heading off to college next year. All that to be said, I've seen a few things recently where science has now proven that these devices and TikTok and Instagram and social media and the brain rot, it absolutely is negatively impacting kids and their attention span. They're also attributing it to not just social media, not just brain rot that you might think of like TikTok and Instagram reels and that sort of stuff, X videos, but actually kids' content. And I'm not in that world, so please don't take us out of context. They might be great people, but there's some Rachel is one of the kids' shows now. And they're saying that's a bad one because it's like the style of these shows to where I've heard some parents of younger kids, instead of putting them on to, if they are putting an iPad in their hand, instead of putting them on to current kids programming, they're putting them on in like 90s cartoons because it wasn't as short attention distraction. I don't even know the proper word for it. I probably should do a little more research and a little more reading. But the long story short is it's not just social media. It's not just the brain rot short form video content. It's even a lot of the current educational programming for kids is having a negative impact on their brain and their focus and their attention spans. And so I think it's not that you need me to tell you this, but I think it's a big need in the world today is more good, high quality educational content for kids that is not it's not taking the easy route and just going short form that even like the Netflix of the world have kind of bent the knee and saying, hey, we realize that people aren't paying attention, they're distracted, they're watching a second screen or they're scrolling on their phone while they're watching, so they're changing their content to support this era of hyper distraction. I greatly respect and appreciate those that are leaning into, I don't know another word for it, like old school educational content, conjunction junction and that sort of stuff. By the way, if you missed it, I'll share my quirky and then I'll hand it back to Poppy here to add to that or respond. The part of the recent update shortly after Poppy acquired the brand was introducing Quirkys, and cute. Like I love the art. Like it hits. I think it hits as kids. I can really like just keeping it real with you. Someone I consider a friend in the space. I didn't know the path for Quirkys IP. Like you get the streetwear and the quality of this stuff's fine. I just didn't know, does Quirkys IP, where does it fit in the world of IP? Conversely, when I saw Quirkys, like, oh, this hits. Like this makes sense as kids IP, as IP that you could build. So you said like, oh, I get it. Like this makes sense far as a business line, a revenue stream when you're talking about building content educational content for kids, it fits. I think the artwork's really well done, and I am, again, I mean, no offense by that with the Quirkys IP. I like the IP. I just didn't know where does it fit in competitively in the world of IP. Whereas Quirk Kids are like, okay, this makes all the sense in the world. I hope you didn't take any offense to that, Poppy, but I'll hand you back the mic.
No, actually, zero offense. That was going to be my, one of my last big points was, a huge catalyst for us was Quirk Kids, right? I'm actually popping a preview that only a few people have seen so far into the comments, and then I'm just going to pin it so you guys can actually see. It's not finished, but you'll see the quality and what we're building. The first one that we're targeting right now is the ABCs. So shout out to Piff, man. If you know Piff, maybe you're around abstract and certain projects, you definitely know Piff. If you don't know Piff's peak, dude, he is ridiculously talented and very driven person. So I brought him onto the team last 10 days ago. He had been helping us like writing quirky songs using AI, doing like tons of cool stuff, 3D avatars. The guy's a beast. But last week I called him and said, look, I've been waiting till we hit a certain threshold for the next hire, and in my mind that's you. And he basically lost it on the call and said I'm in. So he started producing this video. I just pinned it to the top. He started producing. I told him, first order of business, because there's a lot to go after. First order of business, let's create our Quirkys ABCs, and then we're going to move to colors, shapes, numbers. We'll probably do some stuff in other languages as well, because my son is almost been intentionally consuming and observing his content intake, and my wife is exactly what you described, Cap. I figured you might have taken her manuscript of limiting the iPad time, limiting the YouTube time, et cetera, et cetera. So a big mission of mine launching Quirk Kids was to create a family-friendly brand that is safe and isolated from things that I don't think kids need to be, put onto or exposed to.
It's tough, right? Because like I justified it like, well, I want my kids to be, I want them to be tech forward. I attribute a lot of the success I've had in my professional career because my dad, or stepdad rather, when he got a Christmas bonus, probably in like late 80s. I can't remember how old I was. I'll have to check to see if my mom remembers the exact how old I was. But spent his Christmas bonus on a computer, like an old school computer that was built, and I loved it. I really dating myself. My first access to the internet was Juno email and playing games across email threads, and just like, but navigating like pre-Windows, like DOS prompt, and figuring stuff out, and then building my own computer. And I do believe that led me to my affection towards technology and ultimately my career in the wireless business. And so I wanted my kids to be tech forward and ahead of the curve. But again, I had to kind of do it. If I could run it back, I would do so in a much different way and still letting them use the devices, but not just whatever social media they, that was the trend of the day, the week, the year. Rather, good quality educational stuff and learning. Like today, if we're fast forwarding today, we were just talking, you can now have an LLM on your iPhone. Like this whole AI movement, this technology movement, it's only going to, today's the worst it'll be going forward. It's only going to get better and better and better. And so it's tough, as I would think, tough as a parent to like, okay, how do I help my kids learn and set themselves up for future success without them being exposed to the brain rot and the challenges, the negatives that come with this hyper distractive world we live in.
Yeah, I think, and like we do it through brands, right? When we were kids, you named some of them. We showed my son more things like Barney or some of the old school stuff that he actually really enjoyed, and he's got certain things that he really likes. And, now when I throw on, I throw on some Quirky stuff for him, and he's like obsessed. He loves it. And we had kids over the house, and I was throwing it on and like seeing if they liked it, if they were entertained, and they love it. And we've been doing coloring book pages, and our whole plan is not just to build a kids brand though. We're kind of simultaneously building like 3 or 4 lane highway and just doing it the right way, not over promising anything and just delivering. But we are going to build a strong vessel for parents, adults to feel comfortable, you know, presenting and putting on the TV. And I think that's it's needed, it's important. And in this world where, man, my 7-year-old niece is like fully functional on the iPad, on Roblox, talking to random people. I see this stuff and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then some of the stuff she's watching on YouTube is like, one step below Cardi B, which is, whether you like her or not, it's just not something I think a 7-year-old girl should be consuming, WAP and all this terminology, nasty terminology. That you'd really want contained to like a strip club. But because of the internet, it's this next generation that, I do feel like I don't want to put on a cape and sound like I need to be the superhero, but I think that there's a huge gap and a huge need for a solution or a good brand, a feel good brand, that and that's a big fuel to our fire cap. So
Yep.
I appreciate it. And I put that video up. It's even better as it goes. And again, this is like 7 days of production. So, over the next couple of years, we're very dedicated to the social media. We're going to go attack the Instagram and TikTok world, and then simultaneously building out this YouTube with all types of stuff, sing-along songs, etc.
I will appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to, even though I don't have a kid, I will be looking forward to seeing the content that comes out, and we need more of it in this world. I do know that. I'm not going to say who because it's in the war room. I'm not supposed to out the war room, but someone says, I'm raising a PBS kid that watches commercials. And I said, first time I've ever had this thought, were commercials actually good for us? And he goes on to say, I think a lot of things were beneficial for our development, even if we didn't know it. I've been deep diving into the psychology of Gen X a lot lately, more specifically Zennials. And there's really something there. I've heard people say it was the video games were different, the programming was different, the lack of cell phones, the lack of electronic devices, the lack of social media, probably somewhat of all the above. There's definitely, and hey, Zennials, Gen X, we're not perfect. A lot of us struggle with attention as well. And probably some of it's gotten worse as we've aged and gotten more, addicted to these devices and the always on electronics and the current content that is really built for short form consumption. But there was, I think there's definitely something there. And I would not be surprised, fast forward 50 years, 100 years, and we look back at these errors and we're like, oh, that was a miss. That was a mistake. And I do think part of it is what we're exposing these younger kids to at early ages when their brain is still developing. Probably we know it can impact us. Imagine it's the impact it has on a developing brain like that. Bouvet, I saw you had your hand up there for a bit. I'm not sure if X is glitching or not, but feel free if you had a question for Poppy or wanted to get in here on the conversation, go ahead.
Yeah, GM guys. Main thing with the screen is like they get just violent, man. And the kids, I'm not sure what's the psychological term, but after they watch something or play, it's just I think it affects their brain and it just makes them more violent in my observation. But one thing I was able to like make a positive impact is when so I was teaching them checkers and then they get bored because it's like a chore or task sometimes, right? And then I had them play like 5 minutes on the computer for a little bit, and then they got really excited and learned it like way quickly than real life. So
yeah. Catching up the abstract chat. Cryptos Game 1 says, when I saw my youngest son catch on to an iPad at 2 years old, I didn't know if it was a good sign or bad sign. I feel you. Like, oh, they get it. They just get this technology like that, and they learn so quickly. At the same time, I think that's a positive. What they're learning, what they're consuming on there is underrated. And quite frankly, it's not talked about enough. Not to get super deep and philosophical here on Coffee with Captain this morning, but after 30 minutes of troubleshooting, we're a little off the rails, but I think really important stuff. Goes on to say my little guy is a big fan of David Attenborough. Not even sure who that is. MTV also probably someone needs to bring MTV back. Crypto Scam goes on to say we've already had data from the past 20 years that shows human educators are better than device educators. Well, they were talking about this in Congress the other day. Well, I would agree. I don't want to push back hard. I would, I guess, argue or I could build a case that it's been that way. But I think as we move forward, I am a full believer and proponent that AI is going to be the great equalizer in terms of education. You want to talk about democratizing education? There's literally no excuses. If you've got access to the internet, and I would say $20 a month, but in reality, it's getting close to where it's free, that you can get the best education in terms of information with a device and access to the internet. And again, I know there's challenges that comes with those devices, but if you just think about what is now accessible to the masses, it doesn't cost you six figures at Ivy League education. You can get all that information from these LLMs, and I do think that we're going to see where people talk about privilege and this person has edge in life because they had access to this education. I also understand with that education comes networking and other opportunities, but just in terms of the intelligence, like the Goodwill Hunting story is not going to be the exception. I think it's going to be the norm, and I think you're going to see people from all different backgrounds and socioeconomic statuses that achieve tremendous success due to what these LLMs unlock from an educational standpoint. It's not all human educators are. Some are very bad. I'd also agree. I think it's an extreme variable when you talk about the human educator. There's great human educators out there. I have a sister-in-law who's a teacher. She's an awesome teacher. There's also some that aren't so great and just kind of go through the motions, and they're still teaching the same curriculum they were teaching 20 years ago. That's broken. And the inconsistency, the variables that are humans, that too is eliminated when you talk about these LLMs. Now, are there variables from one LLM to another? Yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, the information is world class and the intelligence there is world class. And I think their ability to educate it likely only gets better and better as well. Shout out though to Diabolito, who says he's Gen X and maybe going senile now. We were talking about ages. It hit me yesterday when someone born in 1991 is now 34 years old. That made me feel old, older than myself, being an 1880s baby, realizing that people because I still, like, my brain still thinks someone born in the 90s is still a kid. I know that's not accurate, but that's just how I felt. Crypto Scam was back on the human educator, says it was talking about it from a deep critical thinking way. Critical thinking and philosophical type minds are fading away because of the way teaching and testing is done now. I don't disagree with that. And I also think that deep thinking is at risk because it's so easy now to go to these LLMs and ask for.
I'm 30 years old.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Like that.
My legs hurt and my back.
Like when you tell me you're 30, I'd be like, okay, he was born in like 1985. I know that's not right, but
1995.
Crazy to me that someone born in 95 is 30 years old. And you said your back hurts?
All the time. Yeah.
Yo, I'm 40 years old and I don't have any pains anywhere. And I'm overweight. I don't exercise like I should, and I eat whatever the hell I want. So I don't know what y'all's problems are.
You must be on genetics one, but also you must be on that big arch McDonald's kick because Chris K at McDonald's, he loves eating the big arch.
In your defense, Machiavelli, you might feel like you're not 40, but you sound like you're 67.
That's true. All that age went into the void.
Payne agrees. Critical thinking is dying, and that is, I think, the biggest concern of all this is, while education may become more accessible than ever before, we critical thinkers I think are going to be in short supply and likely extreme demand.
I slightly disagree with that. Like if you use Claude Cowork or OpenClaw or Perplexity Computer, like you can tell the AI to do something for you, and if you don't understand what you're asking it, it doesn't do a good job. So
like there's two. It actually encourages critical thinking because if the AI can do a specific task really well, then your job isn't to do that task really well. It's to think about systems engineering and effectively product management and how you take all these operations and combine them into a larger cohesive system. And systems thinking is something that most people have not had to do because they walk into a job, they're paid X amount of dollars per hour to do a specific thing, and it's the CEO's job to kind of put it all together, or the product manager, or the CPO, right? And so there's a lot of young people who are now learning systems thinking and systems engineering, and they're not like very focused on specific task, which actually is critical thinking. There's a difference between knowing one thing really well or understanding the greater world of things that you need to put together to make the end result thing you want to develop.
I hear you. Payne's coming over the top and says, tell Jonah it doesn't mean critical thinking isn't dying. AI has just come around. Critical thinking has been dying before that if you look at the American education.
Yeah, but I'm saying now all these kids have access to a super intelligence, and they're like a lot of these kids when they're using the AI, they're not just like typing a prompt and then walking away. They're like reading it, then they're going to like check it. I like think about all the stuff that people have had to do in the last month setting up AI. They've had to figure out how to use GitHub. They learned what a fucking cron job was. They know how agents access APIs. They now know what an API is. They know what a GUI is. Not that GUIs are going to matter anymore if AI agents really work. They figured out what a CLI or MCP is. They understand, like there's a lot that they're learning that if they would just be playing fucking Roblox if they weren't doing this.
Fair. Yeah, I get both points.
They're also learning. They're also, by the way, learning how to trick the AI because a lot of times you want the AI to do things that it's not allowed to do, and so they're critically thinking like exploits on the AI. And by the way, like people.
Let me interject. How important then is AI for critical thinking? Because those kids that aren't deep in doing this and tricking LLMs or thinking what they're prompting, I think critical thinking is definitely fading when you think about if we remove AI from the conversation and those interactions. And maybe I'm naive, but I think most kids are using. I'm sure there's an age where it kicks in, but maybe most school age kids, teenagers and above are using AI probably on a daily basis.
Well,
if I were to guess.
I think the Pareto principle applies to everything in life, and the reality is like sometimes a kid is just stupid, and they're going to be stupid all their life. Like, and like not everyone's meant to be a genius scientist. Some people are meant to be, people who turn big rocks into little rocks, and that's still a very fruitful and valuable life. But some people aren't meant to be that way. And that's okay. They don't need to. Not everyone needs to be a fucking rocket scientist. We need people who can, pick up a shovel and do manual labor.
I agree. I agree. Not only do I agree, if you, I don't know if everyone saw it. It was Alexi Ohanian recently talked about funding Trade School 2.0. And then I think I saw also like someone from maybe AI 16Z talking about trade school, like basically that. Yes, that is. It's funny. Like Aaron Carroll had a cook recently, really viral post. Said Alexis also reposted some other things, but this is one in particular. Says Alan's post here that went mega viral, a couple million views. Plumbers and electricians seeing AI replace everyone who went to college. To which Alexis said, I'm desperately trying to start and fund Trade School 2.0. DM me if you're that cracked founder. Maybe someday robots replace electricians and plumbers and manual laborers. It's going to be a little while. It's going to be far further down the road than it's replacing a lot of the technical white collar jobs, in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you this: robots have been replacing people for a long time. They're just not humanoid
Yeah.
robots. I literally work in manufacturing; it's what I do, and automation has been, eking out the necessity to have as many people involved in a manufacturing process. That's been happening for the last 200 years, though.
Yep.
We've been making things bigger and more powerful and faster, and able to meet the demand without as many people necessary in the process. That's been happening for a long time, but it's not going to be a light switch thing that just like all of a sudden there's robots, like humanoid robots, that replace everybody. It's a slow process. It's not going to be as exponential as AI is at potentially replacing like white collar jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually it might get there, but yeah, I agree. It's not going to happen as soon as far as that exponential growth and like flat out replacement. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that robots have been in manufacturing for years, and I still think. I mean, do you agree though that like trade school 2.0 is probably a emerging market or a booming opportunity?
Yeah. No, absolutely, I do. In fact, I think those might be that might be the majority of the job market after AI gets rid of a lot of Look, what I came up originally to say is that I don't think that AI is a replacement for critical thinking. I think the smart kids are going to be just fine. AI is an extremely powerful tool that will help kids that are capable of critical thinking speed run their problems. And I'm kind of in alignment with Jonah on this. Like, some kids just aren't that bright. Some kids are. The kids that aren't that bright are probably going to use AI as a tool to negate the necessity to even garner like a minimum level education. But the kids that are really bright and capable of critical thinking are going to use it as a tool to explore things at an exponential rate compared to what bright kids of my generation could. But I think they're going to be just fine. What was the question that you asked just a second ago? I lost it as I was
trade schools 2.0 and just like that is like an emerging market. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think so. I mean, people are going to need to service the equipment that runs manufacturing. It's that simple. I think people's manufacturing got shipped overseas in large part, right, over the course of the last like 100 years. But I think that now we're in an era where people want things now, right? So I think you're starting to see, and plus with tariffs and cost of shipping across seas, once you do have a product, you're actually starting to see a lot of things be manufactured on U.S. soil again. It's starting to come back because people aren't willing to wait a long time. So I think right now it's probably a really good idea to either go into high level tech and be at the cutting edge. But if you're not that 1% of people that are going to be able to make money at that cutting edge, then yeah, you should probably be learning a trade. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And not only is I think more manufacturing and that sort of stuff coming back to the US, as Crypto Scam One adds, trades are needed now. For every 5 people that retire, only 2 are coming into that workforce. So it's like the robots aren't going to take over that world as fast as they are on some of the technical stuff. And that workforce is aging out. A lot of them are retiring, and it's 5 to 2 for every. It's just there's not enough. It's a real supply demand thing, and there's a much greater demand for more people to do that work. Says trade schools are definitely coming back. Check out Mike Rao for Dirty Jobs. 10 million in scholarships right now, and yeah, I think between the Mike Raos of the world, the Alexis Ohanians, and this pendulum swinging back from tech reliance, people will get left behind on both sides. It's scary, but probably the unfortunate reality is there will be people left behind. Like, I think the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be caught in the middle. Like you don't want to mid curve this. Be on, fully lean in and really embracing these tools and building with these tools, or I don't want to say even fully lean out, but go the exact opposite direction and become an expert in the trades.
Hizzy just tagged me and said calibration techs to work on robots, and that's pretty accurate. I mean, that's literally what I do. Like, just for context, I was born in '88. I graduated in '06. I've been working in a book manufacturing facility ever since. I run a printing press that's like 3 stories tall. Right? There's 3 guys that are running this press that's 3 stories tall and maybe 80 yards long or something like that. Right? For the most part, if it was brand new, just bolted to the ground and calibrated, it could run for many, many hours without going off the rails. But it does run off the rails. You need people that can, with robotics on a mass production level, things go wrong all the time. A bearing locks up here, a proximity switch acts up over there, an air cylinder starts leaking. The fingers where a belt was welded together start to fray apart. There's all kinds of things that these things need maintained. So, I mean, there's always going to be people involved in manufacturing. It's just a question of how much can you manufacture and how many people do you need to meet the demand of the thing that you're manufacturing.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry.
Yep. No, well said. Chat's enjoying this conversation. Didn't plan on going here today, but maybe it was the early tech challenges that led us to this conversation. And shout out to Maria and all the other educators out there that are leaning into this new world and helping, rebuilding curriculums and helping their students understand the world's changed. That's the one thing I'm certain of, is that it's vastly different than it was when we were kids, and teachers need to evolve. Like we can't be teaching the same things that we were taught when we were kids. And it's just like that's broken. And I know there's great educators out there. There's ones that are doing this sort of stuff. We need more Marias out there. We need more doing this, across the board. And Andy says they're retiring later and later. So not only are they not being replaced, but they're working later in their lives. It's a leverage problem. Yeah, it's just it is a wild. Having lived through the internet, the .com era, the smartphone era, I think the societal changes we're experiencing now and over the course of the next few years are maybe, not only greater than any of those, are potentially greater change than all those eras of change combined. And grateful to be at the cutting edge of what I believe the cutting edge of it here, at the intersection of blockchain technology and AI. I think a lot of it's happening on chain. That said, on the other side of that curve is all the stuff happening off chain. We talk about these trade schools and these trade jobs, and it is, I think, at least for the foreseeable future, insulated from all the robots. To an idiot's point, like there's going to need to be people to fix the robots. The robots aren't going to be self-fixing for at least a few generations. I think we're a little ways off of that, and I know it can be scary. Change can be scary, but it's also exciting and new opportunities. And they're going to see, we're talking about what we know, what we've known. I think there's also highly likely there's a lot of new roles, new industries, new opportunities that are created as a result of this change. And so much so that some things we're not even thinking of yet because they've not happened. And it's going to take, once some of these changes start popping off, is when we see new opportunities created as a result. A few other things here I saw before I move on. I got one other topic I wanted to. We'll probably fly over today. Like I said, we've never mentioned Tron on the show, I don't think. So we're not going to go super deep. But as I was talking AI agents to 2026, as NFTs were to 2021, maybe this is a bad sign. But I also want to take a hike. One more flyover on the market at large, in particular Bitcoin and ETH, and then we'll hit on that Tron topic. But before I do so, Dejani. I saw you fly up. Any questions, comments, anything you want to get in on the conversation this morning? GM. DJANI. I probably pronounced the name wrong.
DJ, it's Dejani.
Dejani. GM. Anything you wanted to add to the conversation? Any comments, questions? Might be having some X issues.
Kick his ass off the stage, Cap.
Oh no, sorry. I try X is really lagging. Sorry.
All good.
Jam.
All good.
So, I'm trying to unmute my mic for 2 minutes and it didn't work. So yeah, Jam. Yeah, I like the topic first with Quirkys. I really like what Puppy is doing. think I'm coming along when I see Poppy on spaces, then I join and want to support. Poppy got me like 2 years ago, where he got me in his DMs and he talked about what he has planned. And I had a call with him. That was my first founder call, or let's see, with someone who has an NFT collection, that I had a one-on-one call, and he shared with me the vision and his faith in God and etc. So I was thinking like, oh, I like this guy and I will support him. And just wanted to say it's really great what he has built so far with Quirkys, and I believe that everyone should look at the Quirkys and what they're building. Maybe you won't get the Quirky, but at least you should follow. I think a lot of through the last year, people have been comparing Quirky's alien friends, and so making jokes. I've been today in another space, and they thought that's the same collection, but Quirky is completely different build. And with the leadership of Poppy, I think a lot can be built. I mean, just look at how many community members he has included in everything. So I think that will be huge.
Yep, no, double tap that, and I think that's of the utmost importance. You talk about any of these NFT native brands, NFT projects, like it's whether it's a founder, a leader, someone like Poppy that's having those one-on-one conversations, that onboarding and welcoming them, or I think of shout out Dort and Law of the Saw and Marav and everyone that supports that Welcome Apes welcoming committee with Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think it's one or the other, whether it's someone on the team or a community-led initiative. I think it's very important, and there. I don't want to say that's what started the space, but it did. Like I think I've shared previously a DM I got from Gordon Goner that was my high res version of my ape. That he did it himself or had someone do it. He's the one who DM'd it to me. Like they were in the weeds. And I think they don't get near enough credit for the early momentum of not just Bored Ape Yacht Club, but the NFT boom. When we talk, like people talk about building in public meant something very different back then than it does now. And I firmly believe that's part of what's leading to this success in terms of Quirkys and their floor price and these royalties is that Poppy is very much in the weeds. And I think it would benefit a lot of these Web3 brands to take a similar approach. Machiavelli, go ahead, and then I'm going to fly over these other two topics as we wind things down.
Just to add to the Court Kids situation, like when Poppy announced this thing and what he was building, and like I got an honorary Court Kid, and I went, and he's like, Mac, you own that IP, like, you know what I'm saying? So, I named him Booger, and like Booger's fixing to come out through Haifa Labs, a fully customizable Court Kid with spare traits, all of that, free to the Quirkys community and whoever claimed the Booger badge on op.xyz. But like I'm a person that's inspired by IP and by movers and shakers in the space and like the community and everything like that. That's why I love to get involved in things that I love. And so like just that energy shifted over this way, and I started building with it. He didn't ask, he didn't say anything. They already have a Quirkys avatar in the other side. Shout out to the Quirkys though. 4 p.m. this Friday. Quirkys Weekly's events in the other side start. Shout out Poppy for that. But it just goes to being inspired and like being a part of something and actually moving. So I'm super excited where some of these brands are going, whether it's Frankie the Frog with Nibbles, Quirkys with Court Kids and everything that they got going in that ecosystem. Like the builders are building, and the NFT class of 2026 is a little different.
Yep.
But you gotta love them for it, and you gotta support them.
Yeah. So, I will say this: this was not planned, not a sponsored segment. But I would be remiss if we had both Poppy and Machiavelli on stage and didn't share the recent announcement that Quirkys is going to Other Side. Official partnership details with Other Side Meta. Quirkys kicking off a weekly reoccurring event in the Other Side, co-hosted with ApeCoin and the Ape Chain Hub teams. Quirky curated community games kick off at 4 p.m. Eastern every Friday, co-hosted by Real Piffs, BGLISM, Sam Adoption, and Shipping from the Ape team. To prepare for this activation, they're hosting a space at 4:30 Eastern on Thursday. That's 2 days from now. Link to the spaces below. See you there. Poppy, don't have time to dive deep into it this morning. We do have a guest tomorrow and Thursday, but maybe Friday morning, if you're around, we'll have you back on. We can do a deeper dive and would love to learn not only more about that, but I also saw as I was looking for that that other side announcement is these quirky recognition cards, QRCs. Cards have arrived. Officially excited to announce today that we're launching our QRCs, a new recognition system built directly to the Quirkys ecosystem. Non-transferable, non-tradable, tied to your wallet unless an asset is sold that triggers it to leave the wallet. Good flyer over there. Just shipping, and you're talking brick by brick, not just talking brick by brick, but actually doing the thing. And love to see it. Diablito says he thinks he may have the burger badge. But yeah, this is again, no obligation, but whether it's Friday or maybe a day next week, I would love to have you back for a more planned interview and do a little deeper dive on the plans with other side, as well as those QRCs and all things quirky. Machiavelli, quick response, and I do have to fly over these two topics to get everyone out of here.
And everybody, we're updating the world today. So the Vibe Code world is going, and tonight, 9 p.m. EST, Chaos Trials and the Vibe Coders come out. You know what I'm saying? Log into the other side. Check it out. What we got going on.
Awesome. Flex adds in the chat, also buy any Quirky under 1.2, get a free Quirkling from Flex. That's in the chat. So if you do pick up a Quirky today, any under 1.2 ETH, the OGs, you get a free Quirkling to add to it. I saw someone in the chat said, should they pick up a Quirkling? If you make it all the way up to a Quirky, you'll get one of those Quirklings for free from Flex. Here's flying over these topics, these headlines. I'm not even going to share the links, but I did pin up top. Since we've been talking kids educational content and YouTube channels, it's my opportunity or obligation to plug our YouTube channel. If you've not, head over there, give us go subscribe, go like the show. We really are grinding our way to 500 subs to unlock some new features on YouTube. Would appreciate all of you, especially our new listeners. If you've not found us yet on YouTube, it's pinned up top. We stream this show Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, live on X Audio Spaces, as well as video stream on YouTube, Abstract, and X Video, but really pushing that YouTube feed. Would like to grow our audience over there and get to that 500 subs so we can unlock some of these other features. And that said, flyover topics here, a couple of items on the market. I mentioned, we talked about it earlier, kind of some conflicting views on the spike yesterday. Here's one from CoinDesk, says Bitcoin 5% spike higher Monday driven by short covering, not fresh buying, says an analyst. Market data shows rising open interest in large liquidation clusters around 65K and above 70K, underscoring that the rally may be fragile without stronger spot demand. And then we hear also from CoinDesk, Bitcoin market bottom may be nearing, at least if measured against gold, analyst says. Historically, Bitcoin bear markets have lasted 12 to 13 months, suggesting a potential downturn until late 2026 if priced in USD. And then from Crypto Times, crypto markets rebound, Bitcoin and ETH flirt with key levels. This move came as broader risk sentiment stabilized, with equities recovering from early losses and oil prices pulling back from intraday spikes. Also just another banner day in terms of ETF inflows, BlackRock buying a ton of Bitcoin and more. I also said we were going to talk a little bit about Tron. So when I say a little, like 60 seconds or less, Tron, this came out on the 1st. Tron Network targets AI infrastructure as top priority for 2026. They've rebranded their Ape NFT to AI NFT to integrate AI into the ecosystem. And Justin Sun announcing Web 4.0 vision, Tron becoming the layer for AIs. I don't necessarily agree that Tron will become the layer for AI, but I do think that supporting the title and the conversation today, that this is, I think, the year for AI agents, year for agentic activity on chain. And it just makes sense that most of that activity is going to take place on chain for many reasons. And Bouvet, I see the hand. If like 30 or 60 seconds, I do got to wind down. I got to get to another meeting here momentarily. But go ahead and get here with a final comment or closing word. Lightning round, though.
Okay, yeah, BTC Gold is definitely not the bottom, because the last low and the high was around 9 to 10, and right now it's at 13. So watch out for that. And also in the midterm election years, usually the beginning of March, there's a slight rally and then followed by a dump. So you can check out 2022, 2018, 2014. Check the seasonality. Be vigilant, guys.
Yep, do your own research, certainly. And I think one thing is for sure is volatility. It may go up, may go down, may chop. But I think in between all that, it's going to be, I think, volatile to both sides. And might be volatile and then grind its way up, might be volatile, grind its way down. but I think volatility with everything going on in the world, with all these changes, market cycles, macro stuff, geopolitical stuff, it's I think we still have some bumpy roads ahead of us. And I remain long-term bullish, optimistic, and certainly not going anywhere. We will be back tomorrow. Actually, as we play out of here, I want my one last request to hit the reminder for tomorrow's show. We do have a big guest joining us, kicking off a new partnership. Would love to have a full house in here. If you've not yet done so, I just pinned it all the way up top, all the way to the left. As we play out, go hit that reminder. Machiavelli, you can pin yours as well. But do me a favor, and if you haven't yet hit the reminder for tomorrow's show, it's all the way to the left. There'll be one in from the left if Machiavelli pins his. Yeah, hit that reminder for tomorrow's show. Excited to introduce a new partnership. We'll have some fun stuff going for all of you supporters as well, and you don't want to miss it. But we get started 8 a.m. Eastern. Guests will join us around 9, and another exciting guest on Thursday as well. That said, appreciate everyone who joined today. Thank you all for powering through the technical issues at the opening of the show. Thank you all for the crowdsourcing, the troubleshooting, and helping us get through that. And really enjoyed the show. Appreciate all of our guest speakers, impromptu. And yeah, Poppy, hit me up in the DMs. I would love to have you back for a deeper dive, more of a scheduled interview here at some point in the near future. And with that, hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.